What if the prices you see in global markets aren't really market prices? What if entire industries are being undercut, not by efficiency, but by strategy? Today, we're breaking down one of the most powerful and controversial tools in global trade: dumping. How it works, how it has evolved, and why it still matters more than ever. At its core, dumping is simple. It happens when a company exports a product at a price lower than what it charges at home, or sometimes even below the cost of production. But this isn't about discounts or promotions. It's about strategy. Firms dump products into foreign markets to gain market share, eliminate competition, and establish dominance. Once competitors are pushed out, prices can rise again. The World Trade Organization allows countries to respond with anti-dumping measures, but only if they can prove harm. And that's where things get complicated. Because in today's world, proving dumping isn't always straightforward. Dumping isn't new. Back in the 1980s, Japan was accused by the United States and Europe of flooding global markets with underpriced semiconductors and steel. The goal? Dominate high-tech industries. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the spotlight shifted to China. Following its entry into global trade markets, China became the center of hundreds of anti-dumping cases, from textiles and steel to solar panels. As production scaled up, global prices dropped, and competitors struggled to keep up. So here's the big question: is dumping still happening today? The answer is yes, but it looks very different. Traditional dumping, selling clearly below cost, is less visible now due to stricter rules. But the broader phenomenon hasn't disappeared. In fact, it may be accelerating. Why? Because global industries are now shaped by massive state support, supply chain dominance, and excess capacity. Several powerful forces are driving this trend. First, excess capacity. When countries produce more than they can consume, they export the surplus, often at lower prices. Second, industrial policy. Governments are increasingly backing key sectors with subsidies, tax breaks, and cheap financing. Third, currency dynamics. A weaker currency can make exports artificially cheaper. Fourth, global competition. As trade becomes more fragmented, firms are forced to compete more aggressively on price just to stay relevant. And finally, technology and scale. Some firms can produce so efficiently that it blurs the line between fair competition and strategic undercutting. But here's where things get even more interesting. Welcome to the world of shadow dumping. This is dumping in disguise. Instead of directly selling below cost, firms benefit from hidden advantages like state subsidies, cheap land, discounted energy, or preferential loans. On paper, prices look fair. But in reality, the playing field isn't level. Add in complex global supply chains, and it becomes almost impossible to trace the true cost of a product. Even digital platforms are entering the game, using ultra-low pricing strategies to dominate markets before turning profitable. This isn't traditional dumping. It's more subtle, more complex, and much harder to regulate. So, what does all this mean? Dumping hasn't disappeared, it has evolved. What used to be a straightforward pricing strategy is now embedded in the structure of the global economy. It's no longer just about cheap exports. It's about industrial dominance, geopolitical influence, and control of supply chains. For policymakers, this creates a serious challenge. For investors, it means prices may not always reflect true market forces. And for the global economy, it means the competition is no longer just fair versus unfair, it's visible versus invisible. If you found this insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep dives into global macro and market strategy.